We are live. I am Dana from DanaRyan.com, and I'm here with Krystal from Brought to You by Mom. Go ahead and say hello, Krystal.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, and we are going to talk all about... What are we talking about? We are talking about blog post titles and SEO, which is search engine optimization, and also trending topics, right? I believe that's right. Correct.
Okay. That's pretty much in a nutshell, yes.
Thank you so much. So I do see some people in the chat. Thank you so much for joining. Let me know if you can hear both of us. I think you should be able to now. I think I fixed that a couple weeks ago, the little quirk we were having with the audio. All right, so we have some questions in the Facebook group, and so we're just going to start with the first question and work our way down, as we always do. And so the first question comes from Mommy, I think it's mommyadventures.wordpress.com, and the question is, blog post titles are hard for me to come up with. Is a shorter title better than a long one? How do you hook them in with just your title alone? And I love this question because I really do struggle with this, Krystal. I have tried so much to come up with really crafty titles, and I've often been like, should they be long or short? And like I flip them around and try to do all kinds of fun things. And sometimes I've just made them really, really basic. So I'd love to hear, your thoughts on titles, Krystal, as far as what you do. I know I've heard a couple things about them as far as how long they need to be. Obviously, depending on where you're sharing your blog post, I think comes into play. You can tell me if you agree or disagree, but if you're going to be sharing it a lot if you're mostly on Twitter, the character length, the limit is going to be different depending on where you're sharing it. So, some of your title might be cut off depending on where your blog post is going to be. So if you're mostly on Facebook, you can, I think, get away with a longer title. But how do you craft your titles, Krystal? Let's just start there. Go ahead.
No, I think you bring up a really good point when it comes to crafting titles and paying attention to where your audience is on social media platforms. Definitely, if you are more heavy on Twitter, you definitely want to be careful with, the use of the length and all those good things. So very good point there. Mostly for me, it's ensuring that with titles, when it comes to long or short, you just basically want to make sure that it isn't going to get cut off on Google. So like if you do a Google search, it can easily be cut off. So if you have a title, I know a lot of bloggers tend to have their title first, and then they'll have basically like a dash, and then they'll have their blog name. So that way, if their blog name is searched, all these different things pop up, similar to like, what you would do on YouTube or other platforms. But basically, you want to make sure that that is not cut off. And a good plugin to use for that, I know we're going to kind of get into more plugins later, but a good plugin to use for that is Yoast. Yoast is a free as well as a paid program on WordPress, and it is basically something that is going to help you. It has an area that will tell you if your title is going to be too long and cut off, where basically what they call your slug. Or I call it a slug. It could be something completely different, SLUG, I don't know. But basically what I do from there is if it is going to be something that is too long, I want to go ahead and take off like my blog name or shorten it a little bit. And now as for finding your title and things like that, the basics of what you're looking for, you just want to make sure to try to avoid as many stop words as possible. Stop words are things like and, for, the, and that way if people search for it on Google, because people don't tend to put in like, give me the reason for such and such. They just look for a reason for da-da-da. So those are kind of just empty words. Now I know it's, sometimes in the English language, of course, you're going to have stop words, 10 reasons how to do this. And so your to and your do would be a little much of considered a stop word, but you have to put it in to make any form of sense. So number one, do make sure that you are making sense with your title. Don't just put a bunch of keywords in there because that make absolutely no sense. And also Yoast, again, that plugin will tell you if you have a lot of stop words, and you can kind of, work to bringing that back a little bit. It takes a little bit of time to craft that. And then from there, basically, let's see, pretty much the question with blog post titles are hard for me to come up with, shorter title. Yeah, but basically, you just want to make sure short or long, just don't drag it out. What's comfortable in the language, what's comfortable that you would read. If you picked up a book and it was 20 words long, would you be more likely to read it? Probably not. But as long as you're getting your point across, not a big deal. And basically just from hooking them with the title alone is just, again, people come to the internet to find answers to their questions. So you want to basically think on that. As lifestyle bloggers, we have an ability to use our things of everyday lives, of things that bother us, snags that we come onto, and how we fix to those things and how we accomplish those, and sharing those with our readers. And if we have an audience that is very similar to us, we're going to come into the same issues as they probably have in life. And if you are able to hook them with that title, with that type of post, it's a good way to get them. So definitely think about questions and answers. People are coming with questions to the internet. Give them an answer in your title.
Perfect. So Google, really, that's what we want to make sure our title is maximized for, not over that character limit. And do you know what that is exactly? I think it might be 70 characters. Something around there. 8 words, I think, is probably a good rule of thumb. Around 8 words or so in a title, I think, is about good. Would you agree?
Somewhere in there. Yeah, I'm kind of playing with it right now to see if I can find Yoast kind of telling me. I mean, let's see, for somewhere in there, I would say somewhere in there 70 characters or so. If not, actually, it might be even a little bit less. But I start in there. That is one thing that I wish I would know right off the bat of what the exact character length is. But I'm sure that's something easily to find too.
Okay.
So,
and I've heard it said before to go off of like your working title first. So your working title is basically what the specific your blog post is about. So you might have, a topic, and so your working title is what that whole thing is about. But then you take that title, and then after you finish the blog post, then you can go back to it and kind of add, like, I know I like to do a lot of like 14 ways to, or 10 steps to. And anytime you're doing titles, though, you just want to make sure you're not overusing a particular format in every single blog post, right? Because if every single blog post is a list and you keep doing, 10 best ways to, or, top 3, blah, 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 then it'll kind of get a little bit redundant, and your readers are going to start to get irritated with seeing that over and over again. Or if every single blog post is, the best way to, or brilliant this, or, if you're using powerful words like that, you want to kind of vary it, is what I try to do. But do you use any kind of title generators? You know how they have all of these blog post title generators that you can use to go to give you ideas, like, I don't know, so-and-so is better than, sliced bread or something. Now you can type in like certain keywords in those generators, and it'll bring up a whole bunch of different title ideas for you. Do you use any of those, or do you think those are just totally not a good idea?
Right. No, you're fine. I don't necessarily use title generators, but I see where you're going. Definitely. I actually use a program called, and pronunciation is not my necessarily strong point. I think it's called either Jaxy or Jaxy. It's Jaaxy. And again, yes, this is a paid program. And I'm definitely not trying to like sponsor these people in any way, shape, or form. I know it can be, even just $9.99 a month can be a lot for people. I use it as a business expense personally, but I do recommend, and I used to be one of those people where I was like, I would never use paid programs, but really, if you want to get deep into blogging, it is good to put your investment in a couple of those. And I highly recommend this one of Gaaxy.com, because it's a good place to start. You can, when you're crafting a title to a post, you want to think about keywords, even just one keyword, and if you're remodeling a kitchen, let's say that, and you're having a post on remodeling your kitchen. Okay, so you have remodeling, you have kitchen, those are 2 keywords, and maybe throw in a few things like DIY or frugal ways to do so, that kind of thing. And you go into something like this program that I'm talking about, and you throw in just a title, how to remodel your kitchen for less. Let's just say that. And the beauty about this program is, depending on which type of account that you have with them, some of them are more extreme and give you more information. I just have the basic one, and it does the job. And you say find keywords, and it'll come up with like a huge list, probably about 30 different types of titles. And it'll say like DIY, how DIY kitchens, kitchens for less, how to do cabinets, stuff like that, and making improvements to your kitchen might be some of the different keywords that pop up, and it'll be all those keywords in one. It'll be like, 3 keywords here, 3 keywords here, and it puts it in enough. And another good example for like right now, I'm doing a post on Christmas cards. I typed in teal Christmas cards. I'm looking at it right now, and I hit find keywords. Well, my keywords that popped up, number 1 is teal Christmas cards. Number 2 is personalized Christmas cards. Number 3 is printed Christmas cards. Number 4 is vintage Christmas cards. And then on the right side of it, it's telling me what the SEO score might be. The higher, the better. It's telling me how many blogs are actually, or websites are ranked on Google, how many are on there and would pop up next to mine. And it's basically giving me a good idea of where to work with my title. So, for example, teal Christmas cards is number 87 on the SEO list, which is pretty good. And it's telling me that 12 websites are listed on Google with this in their title. So I might have a good chance of ranking on the first page, if I use teal Christmas cards. So I might look at that and go, okay, well, I am writing about Christmas cards. My Christmas cards are teal this year. So maybe I want to put in like, teal Christmas, where to find teal Christmas cards, or teal Christmas cards online or something like that. And then that way I'm incorporating those high ranking keywords into my title. So in an aspect, I do use almost like a generator. It's just I focus more on keywords so that way I can try to rank on Google.
Love it. Okay. And Love Our Crazy Life in the chat is asking, what program is this again, Krystal? And it is, let me see, GAAXY. Am I right?
Sorry, J as in Jeffrey.
J, so I know as in Jeffrey.
G's and J's go together when you're talking. Yeah. So J as in Jeffrey, and then AAXY. So JAAXY.com. And I mean, like I said, the accounts vary. I think I pay it's like $9. I get confused between Tailwind and this one. Tailwind's more for Pinterest. We can get into that one and some other day. But they have different things for it, and they do have a free trial that you can try. For I think it's up to 20 searches or something like that. So you can go out there, you can try it out, see if it does work for you, see if you get good hits out of it for what you do blog about, and you can go from there.
Awesome. Do you change your titles ever? So when I create my blog post and I have the title, the URL, I usually just pick like a couple keywords, like 2 keywords that I'm using in the post to make it related. But obviously I don't make my URL the entire title. So I don't change that obviously once my blog post is posted, like the URL stays the same. But sometimes I do go back into the title, to optimize it or make it better as I learn more. Do you ever go back and change your titles and mix it up and see if it's working better?
I do actually more often than not. Something that I have learned is that Google really does pay attention to how active your site is. That's what's going to also help you rank. So the more that you're changing things up, the better. And to be honest with you, I might even go as far, like if I agree with you on the URL, do not be changing the URL unless you go into your hosted website and actually pull a redirect. Thankfully, Bluehost, which I know you use as well, Dana, does have a really, really easy way to go into the control panel and do an easy redirect. You just put in what the current URL is on your blog, and then you can change it, and it'll automatically redirect, a 401 redirect, basically, or 402, whatever it's called. And then basically, I will change URLs on occasion, like if I'm just like, okay, this is like completely off the rocker and different, because URLs are important as well in the keyword search. If it's similar, I'm not going to worry about it. If it's something completely different, then yes. Sometimes, this sounds kind of crazy. Sometimes, like if I have a post that could be really good to use during the holidays, let's say, okay, I don't really talk about this, but let's say it's a weight loss post, and I have already posted like 10 ways to lose weight. And then I go ahead and I post 10 ways to lose weight after eating all that turkey, kind of thing. And what I'll do is I'll actually go in and change the URL then to, 10 ways to lose weight at the holidays, change the title, and then maybe I'll go back in, 4 months after Christmas, after the holidays, and change it back to 10 ways to lose weight. So that's something I've read recently that people are starting to do. I'm still experimenting with it to see if it really makes a huge difference if you do something like that. But it is a good way to kind of knock your post up.
Yeah, it makes your content really versatile and last a lot, reach a lot larger audience if you can, make it optimized for the holidays and then switch it back afterwards. That's so cool.
Exactly.
I love that. All right. So There's another question here from this is next question from Love Our Crazy Life, Becca, who is here in the chat. And Becca had asked in the group, how do you balance a clickable title but not creating clickbait, which we all hate? What are your favorite plugins to help with SEO? So it's kind of two questions there. And we already kind of talked about Yoast, which is my favorite one for SEO. That is what I use. That's the plugin. And then as far as clickbait and your titles, how do you balance that so that you don't, you're making sure you're staying true to the content, but then also creating this catchy title?
Right. It's funny because I know we were just kind of talking about that. And I will say, looking at this question that Becca had, she kind of stumped me on that one, not going to lie, because I was a little like, oh man, she's right. And I'm one of those people, I'm pretty transparent when I'm with my blog posts. I don't like misleading my audience. And I know for like some people, they do write from the heart, and they write more on a basis of, they're not really crafters, they're not really recipe writers. They're more into the what I call the feel good posts, like this happened with my kid and this is how I got through it kind of thing. And so with that, I mean, my whole thing is like you said, we really have to be careful with integrity with our audiences and not be too much of, this was the best thing I ever had. This was the most amazing thing ever. And I do tend to overuse those words. I'm not going to lie. And that's because I'm a very emotional person. So I'm always like, woohoo, like this little cheerleader all the time for all these different things that I just love. And I just have to tell you how much I love it. But it definitely, you have to be careful with that. And so just for integrity, I definitely recommend being transparent as possible with your audience. As for the clickable kind of thing and trying to find the catch, I think it just kind of depends on, using things that are personally happening to you and looking at trending topics that are going on. If you are one who is going to write about like the presidential election, let's say that maybe that is something that you are up to write about. That's not really what I personally do. But if you are looking at Google Trends and seeing what some of the top headlines are for that, go for it. Go to Huffington Post. There is a parenting area in Huffington Post. See what other people are doing for that. And find what I do sometimes when I do need those type of posts. Like I think I had a post one time of like, what was it? When I was talking about like strong-willed, how strong-willed my daughter is. I was trying to think about things that would really affect somebody if they were to read the title. Like a mom out there who also has a strong-willed child is going to look at it and go, I totally relate 110%. So you kind of have to think about your audience, because if you are writing to a more mother, parent, I hate to say the word, but older adult, audience, I think they're going to be a little more understanding to having more transparent type titles, as opposed to if you are, going towards a younger audience and you're talking about the latest fashion trends, things like that, then you would want to put like, I can't believe she wore this, kind of thing to get them to click that. So I feel like there's an age gap. I don't know if that's really appropriate to say, but I feel like older readers are more tending to, they're coming for the answer and question. Mm-hmm. Younger readers might be coming for the gossip. So I mean, just putting it bluntly, like I said, so it's kind of one of those things where you have to really think about your audience, I think, on that one.
I agree. I think also just having that balance, like I said before, because if you keep putting out posts like life-changing tips to clean your house and your tips are not really that great, then people are going to start to pick up on that after a while. If every single blog post you're, putting out there that, you like very strong, powerful words about, what you are promising in your blog post. And then if it isn't delivering, if you're just putting it out there to get people to click on it and then they come and they do click it and what they read there isn't really matching up to their expectations, then you're going to start to lose readers or followers wherever you're sharing your blog post. So you want to be careful how often you're using those strong titles and make sure that you have really put a lot of thought and effort into that post and that it does match up with what you are promising in your title. Right. If you're saying it's going to be life-changing or earth-shattering, then make sure it kind of is, because that way you're not just doing clickbait. And like you said, then you're being authentic. So, and then SEO. SEO plugins, Yoast is, like I said, I use that. It has spots in there for tags and meta description, and basically that's what I do for SEO. What other things are you doing, Krystal? Do you have other plugins that you're using besides that one? That's the only one that I use to put in all of that detail. And like you said, it's a great plugin because it kind of guides you through, and it tells you whether or not you've used those keywords before in past blog posts, so you know if it's something you've already done. So that's my favorite. Do you use anything else?
Yeah, Yoast is definitely my favorite by far, just because it does such a good job. Now, I will say their new handwriting option that they have, which what is it? Readable. That's what it is. The readable option that they have that tells you whether or not your content's really readable. Sometimes I know that's kind of been freaking out some bloggers out there.
Yeah, mine too. It hasn't been, it says it's not readable, but I'm like, yeah, it is. So I'm good. I didn't know that. I'm glad to hear that, Krystal.
Yeah, many bloggers have a problem with it. I've seen it all over the place, to be honest with you. But, just like a lot of other bloggers who are larger have said, write with your voice. It's your authentic voice. So just kind of ignore that. I mean, it is good to have. It's a good reminder for me to remember to put in headings. So that way, like, people, when they read my blog post, sometimes people just skim. They don't really care to read all the fluffy words in between. So they just want that's where the recipe is, clearly, because it says, chocolate chip cookie recipe in bright, bold, big letters. So that's about all I use it for. Other than that, I'm like, whatever. When I write a recipe, of course, I'm going to have 3 sentences that start with the same, then use this, then use that, hello. So it is what it is. It can only go as far. It's just a computer analogy. So, I mean, that's a big one that I use. It's really hard to really find anything else that I love. I know a lot of people like different things. I know Jetpack is another one that people like to use for some of the different things. I mostly just use Jetpack as a relation to Google Analytics to see where my hits are coming from, what people are searching on my actual search bar that day, because it does tell you, like, it'll say what people are searching for on your actual website. So it's kind of good to know, like, if I see somebody that's coming back and searching the same thing for 3 days in a row, a recipe per se, like maybe they came and they saw my post and they liked it, and then they were like, oh, I forgot what that recipe was. And they go out to my blog because they remember it was on my blog and they have to search it again, kind of thing. That's always good to know, because then I kind of know what's hitting more frequently, and I can look into keywords using those same titles and just picking keywords from them and maybe trying a different type of post that's related, that kind of thing. But to be honest, yeah, I mean, I know it seems really obvious because Yoast is like the number one used plugin amongst bloggers, but I will tell you, it took me a while to kind of understand Yoast and really know how to utilize it. And after I paired it with things like Jaxie and, Google Analytics and things like that, I've really learned it really is one of the best ones out there. I've actually taken it off for a while just to play with it, and things tanked for me. It wasn't a good idea.
Oh, no.
So I
well,
recommend
Becca
it.
in the chat said, I can never get that readability thing green.
I know it bugs people, especially people who are like I hate to use the word OCD because I know, but for lack of a better term, who just want the green. They want that green there. It haunts them when they go on.
It just gives you that warm, fuzzy feeling to see the, all green, and you're like, all right, this one's a go. And when it's not, it kind of gives you like, oh, it just doesn't feel the same.
I hear you. I get it.
All right. So Becca had also asked, I'm sorry, I forgot this. She said, best time to post topics for upcoming holidays, like when to start posting Christmas content, etc.
Right. That one's a big one. A lot of times, I mean, I highly recommend Google Trends. Like, I know a lot of people know about it, don't know about it. And that's where you can explore topics. You can search topics, and it'll basically give you a histogram of showing you when things are peaking. And I know I've attended a YouTube conference where they talked about basically trying to get where the crest is. So when you start seeing that histogram, that line graph start to go upwards, that's usually about the time you want to start posting. And you can go back from, a couple years, kind of see where the trend is at. And it breaks it down even by almost week. So if you go in there and you kind of play with it a little bit, it'll tell you Thanksgiving, when do people start really searching for that? Typically, it's usually a month or so ahead of schedule. Another good thing is Ahology. Ahology, I've talked about their program that they have. If you just go out to ahology.com, or if you just actually Google Ahology like Pinterest calendar, I think, or trend calendar, something to that nature.
Yeah, I linked it up in the show notes from the last one. Mm-hmm.
There you go. Perfect. Because check out the show notes there. That is a good tool to use as well. They definitely do a good job showing what's trending on Pinterest and when. So that's really good to know. And then also check your Google Analytics too. Google Analytics, go back from last year and take a look at your posts that are being hit during a certain amount of time, plug in October, or even if you want to go September through January, and see what posts are being hit, top hits, and when did people start searching for that content. That's another good thing to know, because then if you do have a regular audience, which I know is kind of fleeting anymore with Pinterest and everything else, people just kind of hit and run, but it's a good way to kind of see where people are starting to hit on your blog too. So basically playing with that. But like I said, my biggest recommendation is Google Trends. That thing is awesome. It's going to tell you when things are going to be searched for a certain time. I know, like, I'm even looking right now, one of their top things right now is, funny enough, is Friendsgiving instead of Thanksgiving, where you go and you have turkey with your friends. It shows you basically when things are actually being searched for, and like turkey dressing is being searched for. That's number one right now in the US is turkey dressing, green bean casserole, mashed potatoes, prime rib, and corn casserole. Those are the top trending hits right this second. So you haven't missed the boat yet for Thanksgiving. You can go out and you can make a prime rib recipe right now, and you could rank on Google. So.
And that's just Google Trends. You just type that in and go there, and it'll show you what the top is. Okay. All right. Very good.
There's an explore topic area at the top. You kind of have to play with it a little bit. There's different settings, and you have to kind of basically tell it to go down to like by week and that kind of thing in a certain time frame. But yeah, you'll figure it out pretty quick.
Okay. And Sanella in the chat, she's don't say hurry. She's saying, are these sites plugins free? So Google Trends is free. Yoast, like you were saying, has a free version and a paid version. And if you were listening for the other plugins, what else were we talking? We weren't talking about plugins. We were talking about the Jaxi, which is paid. Yep. Mm-hmm. So some of them are and some of them aren't. So I hope we answered your question there, Sanella. Okay. So then our last question here is from Rebecca from Homemade Mommy. And she asks, how do you stay ahead of trending topics, which is sort of what we were just talking about? I am usually behind the curve and miss out on being able to make the posts relevant. So if you aren't looking on Google Trends, I would suggest just trying to get like 3 weeks ahead of holidays and stuff, 3-4 weeks ahead. That's kind of if I'm not looking it up, that's basically what I do, is just try to be a month ahead of any holidays. But look at the Google Trends. I guess that, I don't know, any other points you can think of for that to stay ahead of it, Krystal, other than that?
I definitely, that's why I recommend bringing in an editorial calendar just for yourself. Definitely take a look at it. I know it's hard sometimes, but sit down every single day with your editorial calendar. Have one. That way you can really plan out and you can take a look what's coming ahead. Because I feel like when you do plan ahead and you think about it like, okay, Christmas is coming. I should probably start posting things right after Halloween, if not like, right before for Christmas, Thanksgiving, those kind of things. And plug in posts for, I want something about 10 top Christmas gifts for your kids to go live on November 1st. Plug that in there. But also, I'm really reading a lot of things too. Don't have just a freak out session if you realize it's now towards the end of the year and you don't have anything for Christmas yet. You're not really, you haven't missed the boat in any way, shape, or form. Do those posts that you are inspired. I'm still doing Christmas posts right now that I'm coming up with on my brain, and I'm just like, well, I should probably just do it, because if you think about it, yeah, they might not be beneficial necessarily this year, but you give it time to get in there, digest, get through Pinterest. It's going to help next year, because then you already have that stuff there. And I highly recommend going in probably towards the end of October for Christmas specifically. Go in and type in Christmas in your search area of your basically your back room of your website. Pull up all the posts that have to do with Christmas and pin the heck out of them. Just pin them every 30 days. Pin them starting in October. Just do that. Start in October, even September. I know it sounds crazy, but that might even help you too. And just pin them. And then, like I said earlier, find posts that might even be Christmassy. If you have an apple pie post, Hello, that's Christmassy because everybody bakes apple pie on Thanksgiving and Christmas, or pumpkin pie. And post it. Put it in your Christmas Pinterest board. Put it in your recipe board. Just pin it. And that's something that I'm definitely hearing from pin experts these days is don't be afraid that you've missed the boat. Start pinning now and get it out there. And don't be afraid to put out your content now. It's okay. I'm late on my holiday gift guide this year because I swear PR was taking forever getting back to me on that stuff. It's not going to go live till December 1st. And it is what it is. That's okay. Put it out there, get it out there, social media, share it, and keep doing it because you never know what viral hit's going to happen. It could definitely happen. And go back to your old posts. Like I said, rework those a little bit. It's okay. And again, use things like Google Trends. Use Pinterest, take a look at it, look at your Google Analytics, get an idea of when things are cresting, and just slap it into your editorial calendar.
I love that. I think that is just gold right there. That is such good advice. You know how I feel? I think that with me, because I'm predominantly a YouTuber, every time I do a video, which is the same with blog posts, I look at it as planting a little seed for the future. And I'm planting that seed to grow into possibly giant sycamore trees in the future. And that could be a year from now, 2 years from now, because I've had lots of videos that I've posted. And then a year later, they have taken off and they have, 20,000 views, 30,000 views just all of a sudden. And then every year, especially if, like you were saying, if it's a holiday related video, you can also pin your videos. So same thing with the blog post. So like you said, even if you feel like you've missed the boat on it, you want to post it, get it out there because you're planting a little seed for the future. And if you go in there and you do like you're suggesting and you just pin the heck out of it when that holiday comes around. I know on YouTube, you can go and create a playlist for specific holidays, like a Halloween playlist and a Thanksgiving playlist and a Christmas one. And you can add all of your related videos in that playlist. And then you can bump it up on your main channel page to the top and really feature it around the holiday and then take it down after the holiday ends. But that next year, those videos, and just like with blog posts, have a lot of potential to be found again. And so they can really bring you a lot of hits. And so get it out there, as soon as you can, or, even maybe after the holiday, just so you kind of plant that seed and have it there to share and to spread around the next holiday and for it to be discovered. So, yep. And I see Sanella said, yes, my old holiday DIYs get plenty of hits every year. And that's perfect. I wonder, is that because you're pinning them? And then it looks like Becca had asked, do either of you use the paid version of Yoast? And is it worth it? So I use the free version. You use the paid version, don't you, Krystal?
I've used it for a while, and it was good to get analysis on what was, going on with my website and things like that. But ever since they compound with, I think it's called CMalt, I'm probably getting that wrong again. It's in the Yoast plugin. It's every so often you can have, it's basically, it says like analyze site, and you can have your site analyzed by them. They send you an email. They tell you kind of what's, if there's any errors, if there's any broken links, those kind of things. And that to me is good to have. So it's part of the Yoast thing now. It never used to be. And I mean, I've heard good and bad things about it, but honestly, pretty much from everybody that I've heard in my experience, personally, I think you can just go with the free version. It does enough with the keyword center area underneath your post. That is such a good thing. And it helps you enough with that, with the editor that it has for the little snippet of it and everything else. And I think it does a fine job on the free version.
That's good to hear, because I've always just had the free version. And so I'm glad to hear it's not really necessary to pay for that version. So good. Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. All right. So that is the end of our time. So we're going to call it a wrap, I guess. And Krystal and I will be back at you in a month. And we always post in the group. So I post a call for questions. So if you have any specific topics that you would like Krystal and I to discuss that are blog related, you can definitely let us know in the Facebook group. And you can go to facebook.com/groups/blogging mommy meetup. That's where you'll find us. And so you can either ask us a question related to the topic or actually suggest a topic that you'd like us to talk about. That sounded like a tongue twister. All right. So, Krystal, please remind everybody where they can go to find you. Oh, and before you say that, Krystal, I wanted to definitely say I am so happy for you that you were invited for the third year in a row to Disney Social Media Moms, which is an invitation-only event through Disney, which is blog related. And so congratulations on being invited this year again. So yay!
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. It's definitely a huge honor. So thank you.
Yes. And then what's your blog? Please tell everybody your link.
All right. Well, you can find me out at broughttoyoubymom.com. That is my blog. It's basically where you can also find where to find me on social media, which across the board with all the different platforms is at brought, the number 2, the letter U, by mom.
Okay, perfect. And I'm Dana Ryan at danaryan.com, or you can find me at danaryan.tv on YouTube. All right, so we will talk to you in about a month. Thank you, everybody, for joining us in the chat.